for still talking about her all these years later. We all know Drake was head over heels for Riri for years.
Talking about her all these years later, Drake had a huge thing for Rihanna for years, but she never felt the same. When she moved on with A$AP Rocky, Drake turned into the bitter ex, throwing shade at both of them every chance he got. He even tried to drag Rihanna into his beef with Kendrick. Now, he's acting like he never cared about her at all, but the proof is still out there. And now, Rihanna's finally speaking up. But here's where it gets even messier. Drake's loyal fans are coming for Rihanna, making everything more complicated. Every name in the book, and honestly, it's getting out of hand. But why did Rihanna finally decide to call out Drake after all these years? And what's up with Drake's fans dragging her for finally speaking her truth? Let's break it down. She's someone I've been in love with since I was 22 years old. Music, applause. Looks like Rihanna just sent some major shade Drake's way, and fans are eating it up in her new promo for her Savage X Fenty line ahead of Valentine's Day. She was asked to choose between love songs and love letters, and let's just say she didn't hold back. Love song or love letter? Gee, please never make me a love song. That is Courtney, trust me. If you know anything about Rihanna's history, you'll know exactly who her fans immediately thought of. Drake has built a whole career on pouring his heart out in his music, and he's written more than a few songs about his one-sided crush on Rihanna. But now, Drake's fans are going way too far, dragging Rihanna into this mess. Named through the mud like she's the one still stuck on him, one of Drake's stans shared a screenshot of his song Fear of Heights, where he threw shade at Rihanna for being average in bed, and they wrote in the caption, "Forehead hasn't recovered since," and another OVO fan wrote it. All fun and games till Drake claps back with 2 bars in a song. Then y'all will be crying on Twitter for 7 days and making YouTube video essays, calling him a misogynist. But the irony is crazy because the only one who's been in his for years, it's been clear that Drake's had strong feelings for Rihanna, while she's already built a family with A$AP Rocky. Meanwhile, Drake, who's pushing 40, still hasn't had a long-term relationship to his name, and no woman has ever publicly claimed him. To give you some context on Drake's strange obsession with Rihanna, they first met back in 2005 when Rihanna was in Toronto shooting the Pon de Replay video. Drake claims he was in love from day one, but let's be honest, Rihanna wasn't feeling him like that. Rihanna wasn't feeling Drake like that. In fact, shortly after their first meeting, she started dating Chris Brown. And here's where things get messy. While Rihanna and Chris were together, Drake kept throwing shade at Chris. But as soon as Rihanna and Chris broke up after the whole DV situation, Drake flipped the script. He suddenly started acting cool with Chris, and they even teamed up on 2 tracks. Drake later said, "I think we both just grew up to the point that that person who was kind of in the middle of us is no." It was clear Rihanna was just having fun with Drake and wasn't looking for anything serious. But that didn't stop Drake from singing about her every chance he got. Over the years, he kept bringing her up in his music, like it was something more than it was. At one point, he said, "Over the duration of our knowing each other, I think we've done some normal things. I don't know if we've ever played board games, but we've definitely gone bowling. Not necessarily with Rihanna a lot, but we've been bowling before. And I love doing things like that, just to me, the simple stuff." The same building, maybe I ask her if she wants to play Scrabble. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Drake and Rihanna themed Scrabble. That's kind of sexy. Yeah, sexy Scrabble. You never know where that could end up. And despite Rihanna brushing off their little bowling date, Drake took it and ran with it. Literally, he turned the whole thing into a song Fireworks, where he sings, "Who could have predicted Lucky Strike would have you stuck with me." Now Rihanna was most definitely not stuck with Drake, but that didn't stop him from. Drake couldn't stop running his mouth about Rihanna in interviews, almost like he just couldn't move on. Since Rihanna kept ignoring him, he started throwing shade, accusing her of leading him on and giving him false hope. In a 2010 interview with the New York Times, Drake said he felt like Rihanna's pawn, adding, "She was doing exactly what I've done to so many women throughout my life, which is show them quality time, then disappear." I was like, wow, this feels terrible. But get this, just a couple of years later, Drake was back to gushing about Rihanna, telling Rolling Stone she was still the ultimate fantasy. At some point, Rihanna and Drake reconnected and worked together on the track Work, and you already know, Drake took that as a sign she was interested again. It wasn't just that cringy VMA speech that made Rihanna cut Drake off. There's more to it. Rihanna found out through mutual friends that Drake had been hiding a whole son with a French adult film star. Then, of course, Pusha T came through with The Story of Adidon, blasting Drake as a deadbeat and basically forcing him to step up as a dad. Drake responded, but it wasn't just about defending himself. It was about his character and principles. As Pusha T put it, he was speaking on the true nature of a man, talking about integrity and responsibility, and calling out how Drake was handling his personal life. Officially done with Drake, however, instead of airing out their drama, she kept it classy and stopped bringing him up altogether. In fact, her 2018 Vogue interview was the last time she even acknowledged him, but of course Drake couldn't let it go even though Rihanna made it clear she wasn't trying to claim him. He kept talking about her like she was the one who got away. Get this, that same year after Rihanna told Vogue they weren't friends anymore, Drake popped up on The Shop with LeBron and Maverick Carter and talked about how Drake thought he was going to settle down and start a family with Rihanna, but that fairy tale never played out. He ended up in a situation where things didn't go as he had hoped, and instead of the perfect ending, he was left wondering why it didn't work out. "I wanted that too," he said, but let's be real, no one, except for Drake himself, ever thought there was any chance of him settling down with Rihanna. Especially not Rihanna. She never once called him her boyfriend, and they were never on the same page about their relationship. Drake wasn't just hung up on Rihanna. He started trash-talking her, even calling her skills in the bedroom average. It was like he became the guy who was obsessed with a girl, but as soon as she shut him down or chose someone else, he started running his mouth, claiming she was never really all that to begin with. Most guys grow out of this phase in high school, but for Drake, it seems like it just got worse with age. On the track, Fear of Heights, he not only calls Rihanna average, but also brags about sleeping with women he claims are way better than her. He WS yeah, and the ex was average with you, yeah, I'm anti cause I had it with you, okay, I'm anti like your daddy's sister, anti like a family picture, and I had way better than you. Now you'd think that with all his success Drake would have bigger things to focus on. Then still dissing the woman who rejected him almost a decade ago, especially when she's out here living her best life with a whole family. But Drake wasn't done yet. He also took shots at Rihanna's man A$AP Rocky with lyrics. Drake was quick to make it sound like he wasn't still hung up on Rihanna, saying things like, "That could never be. Girl can't ruin me. Better him than me." But it didn't stop there. He even threw more shade at A$AP Rocky in another track from his album For All the Dogs, rapping, "I am pretty Flacco," playing with Rocky's nickname. Meanwhile, Rihanna chose to stay quiet and ignore all the drama, but Drake couldn't let it go. He kept bringing her up out of nowhere, even after it was clear he'd taken an L in his rivalry with her. Drake's beef with Kendrick Lamar has been one of the most talked about rivalries in the rap game for years. The tension between the two artists sparked with Kendrick's 2013 verse on Control, where he called out several big names in the industry, including Drake. From that moment on, it was clear that Kendrick and Drake had some unresolved issues. But instead of letting things die down, Drake escalated the situation in typical Drake fashion by putting out an insane amount of content. In an attempt to get the upper hand in the battle, Drake leaked 100 gigabytes of content, including unreleased tracks, studio footage, and behind-the-scenes moments with past collaborators, one of whom just so happened to be Rihanna. Among the content he leaked were old clips of him and Rihanna from their Take Care days, one of which showed them rehearsing for their live performance of the song. Another clip featured Drake in the studio wearing a Rihanna t-shirt, hinting at a time when their connection was much stronger. But all of this leaked material wasn't just about throwing shade at Kendrick. Drake also took another shot at A$AP Rocky, calling him out on his Kendrick diss track, Family Matters. On the track, Drake makes a comment about A$AP Rocky, mocking him for apparently putting his family before his career. He raps, "I ain't even know you rap still, cause they only talk about your fit again. Probably got to have a kid again for you think of dropping any." It seems like Drake was throwing shade at Rocky for focusing on his family life, suggesting that AAP's priorities were out of whack because he was raising a family instead of constantly pushing out new music. But here's the thing, Drake's diss about A$AP Rocky having kids and taking care of his family didn't really make sense. In fact, it came across as petty because there's nothing wrong with A$AP focusing on his personal life. In fact, many fans saw it as a sign of maturity that Rocky was putting his family first, especially with the birth of his son with Rihanna. For Drake to come after him for it made him look more bitter than anything else. With Kendrick. But the real twist in this whole drama came when Rihanna finally threw a bit of shade back at Drake. In a promo for her Savage X Fenty line, Rihanna made a comment that many people took as a direct jab at Drake. When asked about the idea of writing love songs or love letters, she said, "Please never make me a love song. That is Courtney, trust me." Fans quickly assumed she was referring to Drake, given his history of making love songs about her and the awkwardness that surrounded their past. This comment from Rihanna was small, but it didn't go unnoticed. It was clear that she wasn't interested in revisiting that chapter of her life with Drake, and she wasn't afraid to subtly express her feelings. Rihanna has always been known for her confidence, and this comment was just another example of her not backing down or letting anyone manipulate her narrative. And of course, Drake's diehard fans couldn't let Rihanna get away with it. Instead of recognizing that Rihanna was simply setting